Chapter 21. Her screams echoed across the hill as Six fired at the gunman who had planned to ambush his group, possibly to abduct Scar. With each shot aimed at vital points, he advanced slowly, alerting all nearby mercenaries. Escape seemed impossible against the gunfire from numerous assailants. Yet they were unaware that they faced no ordinary foe. As they attempted to flee, a flurry of bullets rained upon them. Surprised, the mercenaries stood no chance and were swiftly struck down, their blood forming a mist in the air, screams piercing the silence. Six approached the wounded mercenaries on the ground and, without a hint of emotion, executed them with shots to the head. Bang, bang, bang. With the area clear, the super soldier dashed towards the largest group of mercenaries. Despite the distance and fortified defenses, he sprinted past the barriers and opened fire. Bang, 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 bang. The bullets penetrated the mercenaries' armor and skull as they took cover. After neutralizing them, he pivoted, dashing to a new position while adeptly inspecting the desert eagles in his grasp. Nearing his destination, a quick glance from beneath his cowboy hat surveyed the mercenaries' defenses. Without pause, his legs unleashed a burst of strength. "What the?" said a merc as Six propelled forward with the ferocity of a cazador. As he closed the gap, his body rotating mid-leap, the group of mercenaries poised for an ambush were caught off guard as he extended his arms and discharged his weapons. Bang, 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 bang. The gunfire persisted, with bullets striking the mercenaries in critical areas. In under 2 seconds, the 5 ambushed mercenaries lay dead. With his ammunition dwindling, he swiftly turned and advanced towards the group of mercenaries, deftly reloading his twin Desert Eagles in stride. By the time he reached them, he was ready. The onslaught commenced. He moved among them like a reaper, each shot claiming a life, slicing through their ranks as effortlessly as a knife through butter. The mercenaries' only escape was down the hill where Rebecca provided cover fire. The other side offered nothing but the sheer drop of a cliff. However, those whose morale remained unbroken were unlikely to leap off. Instead, they faced the cold, ruthless bullets. To Six, numbers were irrelevant. His movements were too swift, too rapid for the average person to counter, and his marksmanship was frighteningly precise. Before they could respond, the bullets had found their targets. The skirmish was over in less than 10 minutes. Every mercenary on the hills had been eliminated, including their leader, Daniels, who perished in the fray. It's possible that even Daniels hadn't foreseen that this day would mark their demise. The final image he witnessed was Six methodically shooting and bullets his bouncing off surfaces, making no sense, effortlessly dispatching his remaining mercenaries. Six quickly looted the bodies of their most important valuables but didn't bother to loot them all. Instead, he rejoined his group to let them pick up the leftovers and swiftly eliminate any mercenaries who had survived his initial assault. He was aware that his slaughter wouldn't attract much attention in the Mojave, where death was all too common. Despite the lack of cover, the sustained gunfire might still have drawn some notice. He left, decisively securing the area, and minutes later several from his group looted the dead bodies. Thunder boomed louder in the skies, lightning streaking across the sky, adding a surreal touch to the day. "By Manan, holy hell," Twig said as he witnessed the field of dead bodies as he was holding his arm from Rebecca accidentally shooting him in the shoulder. While Scar just didn't react as she was used to such scenes. "Whoa, my eyes just shat themselves. I forgot that Six was more of a dangerous monster than the midget. It's just that the guy hasn't been doing much on the trip," said Ben as he whistled at the massacre the super soldier had done. The ranger hummed as he started looking at the corpses, shocked at what one man did. Noticing that the sun sky was gradually rising, and once Six finished fiddling with his Pip-Boy map, the wind had died down, and the stillness of the land felt almost unsettling after battling the mercs in the rugged terrain. Just as they finally descended the last slope of the hills, leaving the harsh, rolling hills behind them, revealing a winding dirt road stretching out toward the horizon, the group continued on the I-15 highway they'd traveled before. Relief washed over them. The hard climb was behind them, but that comfort was short-lived. Ahead, they saw another group approaching from the distance, moving in the opposite direction. The sun was rising, casting a blinding light across their direction, making it hard to see clearly. Their clothes were worn, and their faces were marked by the same fatigue that had settled into the bones of anyone who had spent too long in the waste. At first, it was unclear if they were hostile. As they drew closer, the group realized these travelers were armed. A moment of silence fell over both sides as they took each other in. Were they friend or foe? One of the strangers raised a hand in greeting. Another kept a hand hovering near a weapon. A knife strapped to their belt or the handle of a well-used rifle slung over their back. But none had made a move. The tension hung in the air, thick and uncertain. Their leader, a tall figure with a dark cloak, raised a hand in a gesture that could be a greeting or a warning. The two groups paused, neither making the first move to close the distance. Twig felt his heart pounding as he glanced at Six. Was this just a chance encounter? Or would it turn into something far more dangerous? "What did you do to Eastwood?" the tall figure with a dark cloak uttered, confusing the group, especially Twig. "What? Hey, what? What did you do to Eastwood?" their leader repeated. It wasn't us. It was Leon. It was Leon." Twig's voice cracked, his frantic words spilling out in a desperate rush. He took a step back, his eyes flicking nervously between the strangers, trying to gauge their reaction. His heart pounded in his chest as though it might burst out any moment, the weight of the accusation heavy in the air. The group of travelers, now standing still in the road, glanced at each other, their expressions darkening with suspicion. The man at the front, a tall figure with a scar tracing the line of his jaw, shifted his stance slightly. His hand twitched near his weapon but didn't quite move to draw it. There was a brief exchange of looks among the strangers, uncertainty clouding their expressions as they silently debated whether or not to believe him. "You're saying Leon did it?" the man with the scar growled, his voice a low rumble that barely masked his anger. He took a step forward, narrowing the space between them. "Blew up the entire town and then what? Just left you all behind?" Twig swallowed hard, his mouth dry. He nodded quickly, almost too quickly, trying to convince them. "No, Six killed his men, and we didn't know what he had planned. I swear, we're just trying to survive like everyone else. You have to believe me." The travelers didn't lower their guard, but they exchanged glances, silently weighing Twig's frantic words. The woman with a white coat beside the scarred man, her hand still resting lightly on the hilt of a knife, squinted at Twig. "People died in that explosion," she said flatly, her voice ice-cold. "A lot of people. We know," Twig whispered, his voice breaking slightly. "We know." The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. The stranger's skepticism hadn't fully faded, but something in Twig's desperation had begun to crack through their suspicion. Still, trust was a fragile thing in these lands, and whatever had happened in that town had left scars deeper than the ones on the man's face. "You'd better hope you're telling the truth," the man finally said, his eyes narrowing. "Because if we find out you're lying..." He didn't need to finish the threat. The weight of his words settled over Twig and the rest of the group like a lead blanket. For now, the travelers didn't move to attack, but the danger still loomed, heavy and unspoken. The tension seemed to hold everyone in place, but then the scarred man's gaze shifted, locking onto her, the girl standing just behind Twig. His eyes darkened, and a slow, knowing smirk crept across his face, as if he finally understood something. He turned to his companions, giving them a look that spoke volumes without saying a word. They knew, too. It wasn't just about the town. It was about Scar. Level 7. Name, 611. Gender, male. Strength, 10. Perception, 10. Endurance, 10. Charisma, 10. Intelligence, 10. Agility, 10. Luck, 10. Barter, 42. Energy weapons, 27. Explosives, 30. Guns, 100. Lockpick, 27. Medicine, 27. Melee weapons, 27. Repair, 98. Science, 42. Sneak, 30. Speech, 27. Survival, 27. Unarmed, 30. Chapter 22. Ron and Dunn. The man's attention snapped back to Twig, but there was something new in his tone now, an unsettling edge. "And the girl?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "What about her? Does Leon want her too?" Twig froze, glancing back at the man. His face was pale, but he held his ground, eyes wide, aware that something was shifting, something darker. He knew why they were asking. They all did. The prophecy, the old story that had passed through countless hands and whispers in the shadows, carried like a burden, had finally reached its moment of truth. She was the girl, destined by the prophecy to bear a child who would one day rule the world. And Leon, always one step ahead, knew it. He wanted her for that reason, to fulfill a fate none of them were prepared for. Twig stammered, his voice shaky. Leon, he thinks. The nut job believes in the prophecy, but we don't. Okay, man. We don't follow him. We're not part of that madness. Six answered, ridding Twing from the stress. But the scarred man's smile widened. Oh, I'm sure you don't. But she's part of it, isn't she? It's her the prophecy speaks of. Scar felt a shiver as the stranger's gaze locked onto her, full of calculation. The weight of her destiny seemed to press in from all sides. The traveler's concerns extended beyond the town's recent events. They were aware of her, and they sought her just as Leon did. It's not solely about the explosion, the other gruff men in the group declared, his grip on his knife tightening. It's the prophecy. That's the true issue here. Six's voice was laced with sorrow. We have no ties to him, I promise. Please, let us leave. We wish for no involvement. Yet, the expression of the man with the scar remained impassive. No, you cannot simply walk away from a matter like this. Not when the future of a child who might dominate the lands hangs in the balance. His eyes shifted back to Scar, then to Twig, his voice a menacing rumble. Leon may be in pursuit, but it appears we are the ones who have found her first. The implication was unmistakable. They would not exit this place unchallenged, not with her in tow. Therefore, we are escorting you and the girl to the locker to ensure Scar's safety, the travelers declared, revealing their noble intentions to Six's group. One of you is injured. Penelope, patch him up. We're taking them with us, the group's leader commanded. Sure thing, Rob, the female doctor responded, approaching Twig with a syringe in hand. I don't want to get a shot, Twig protested, attempting to wriggle away from her. If you let me give you the shot, you'll get a Nuka-Cola, Penelope bargained, producing a bottle from her medical bag. Give me, Twig exclaimed, snatching the Nuka-Cola with his injured arm and guzzling it down. Be careful with your arm, she cautioned. Oh God, that's the best thing that's happened in days. Twig sighed in relief as he drank the whole bottle. That didn't hurt? Penelope inquired, intrigued by Twig's reaction to his injury. No, not really, he replied. Fascinating, she murmured, stowing her syringe as Twig evidently did not require the Med-X. Led by their newfound allies, they arrived at Locker, a vast ammunition factory now in ruins, a faint echo of its once mighty existence. The factory had seen its glory days. Now its walls were marred with fissures, and the iron skeleton was corroded in many areas. Yet, despite its deterioration, the atmosphere was dense with history, as if the factory still bore the significance of its original intent. The walls of the factory moaned as the wind whistled through the gaping holes, and the weathered sign was hardly discernible after enduring years of neglect. As they neared the entrance with caution, the doors creaked open, unveiling the immense and silent expanse within. An elderly man awaited them at the entrance. Ron, the caretaker of this forsaken establishment. His visage was carved with the trials of time, his white hair disheveled, and his build robust despite the passage of years. His eyes, weary yet vigilant, betrayed a keenness that belied his age. Adorned in a jacket replete with patches, evidence of many years of toil, he welcomed them. Welcome to Locker, Ron uttered in a gravelly yet assertive tone. He relied heavily on his aged right leg, likely afflicted by a past injury. This facility once forged armaments for conflicts now consigned to history, and today, it shelters something entirely different. It's now the refuge of my kin. Ron surveyed the assembly, his gaze pausing on each individual before settling on Six and Rebecca. You've come with a purpose, he declared. Yet, I must ascertain, are you here to restore or to ravage what remains? Ron, Scar cried out as she ran towards Ron and hugged him. Scar, it's been a while, Ron said, surprised at Scar's appearance, as he hugged his surrogate daughter back. I didn't know this was all about you. Sorry for the trouble, Scar said, hugging the man who taught her how to survive in the waste. Nah, Leon's been doing ass beatings for far too long. Wait, you two know each other? Said Twig, making a moment awkward. God damn it, fatty. You just had to open your mouth, uttered Ben, annoyed. Mr. Ron, we're here to evacuate your population to Good Springs and tear down the facility for parts, said Six, his voice calm but firm. Ron, with a solemn expression, looked at Six's determined gaze with his tired eyes. We're a peaceful people, mostly elderly, those too weak to fight on their own. We keep the raw materials here safe from raiders, slavers, anyone who wants to hurt others with it. You can't just walk in here and strip away what we've built. Ron replied, his voice calm but carrying a weight of resistance. This place has been our home, our last stand. You can't just dismantle everything we've built here. 6. This facility. It's all we have left. 6's gaze was steady with a mix of pity and impatience flickering in his eyes. I understand that, but the resources here are more valuable in Goodsprings than locked up in this place. It's not about what you've built, it's about survival now. Goodsprings is safer for your people, and the raiders won't stay off your back much longer. You know the deal, Goodsprings is fortified. You'll be safer there. Ron sighed, glancing at the rusted walls of the facility, and back at the people behind him. People who had trusted him to keep them safe. They were silent, anxious, waiting for his word. His hand hovered over Locker's walls, a symbol of the life they had carved out here. And what about the facility? You're just going to tear it apart for scraps? 6 nodded. This tech could save lives elsewhere. It's time to let go, Ron. Ron clenched his jaw, but deep down he knew 6 was right. And what about us? My people? Some of them won't make the journey. 6's expression softened slightly. You have my word, Ron. We'll get everyone out safe to Goodsprings. What do you need from me? He asked, his voice heavy with reluctant acceptance. Inside the building, the air felt heavier. The faint smell of rust and gunpowder lingered as the super soldiers group stepped past a heavy metal door that creaked ominously. They were greeted by an open factory floor littered with the remains of outdated machinery and bullet casings. 6 placed storage containers on the floor with a thud, his boots echoing in the cold, steel-plated room. Stepping forward, he met the wary eyes of the crowd, scanning the anxious faces of the small population that had called this place home for years. The weight of his words pressed down on the room like a leaden fog. We don't have much time to waste, 6 said, his voice steady but urgent. You need to pack all your things, clothes, tools, anything essential. Load up enough provisions into these containers, as quickly as possible. By the end of the day, this building will be dismantled, and we'll be on our way to Goodsprings. There was a murmur in the crowd, uneasy glances exchanged between them. Some hesitated, unsure of what to do, while others stared at the containers, calculating how little they could take with them. Ron stood at the back, arms crossed, his face tight with frustration. His eyes flicked from 6 to his people, seeing the fear, the uncertainty. He cleared his throat, the sound cutting through the anxious silence. Listen up, everyone. Ron began, his voice steady despite the tension. We've held out here for a long time, built a life out of this wreck. But he took a deep breath, as if bracing himself for what came next. The slavers know we're here. They're planning an attack. If we stay, they'll take us, turn us into property. We can't hold them off this time. The crowd gasped, whispers turning into a low buzz of fear. Some looked to Ron for reassurance, but there was none to give. His grim expression said all they needed to know. 6 is right. Ron continued. Goodsprings is our best shot for us. It's fortified. We've made arrangements for shelter and food. But we need to go now. 6 watched Ron, the tension between them still palpable. They didn't agree on much, but the looming threat of the slavers united them in this moment. If you want to survive, 6 added, taking a step forward. Start packing. The room fell into a flurry of activity as people rushed to gather their belongings, fear spurring them into action. Level 7. Name 611. Gender male. Strength 10. Perception 10. Endurance 10. Charisma 10. Intelligence 10. Agility 10. Luck 10. Barter 42. Energy weapons 27. Explosives 30. Guns 100. Lockpick 27. Medicine 27. Melee weapons 27. Repair 98. Science 42. Sneak 30. Speech 27. Survival 27. Unarmed 30. Chapter 23. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Ding. Hidden quest. Exodus number 2. Complete. Objective. Successfully have the townsfolk of Locker travel to Goodsprings. Reward. Rare silver tier item Elite Riot Gear plus Helmet. Elite Riot Gear plus Helmet. The Elite Riot Gear stands out as a distinctive and highly advanced model of LAPD riot armor, surpassing the pre-war 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment riot armor in superiority. Compared to the advanced riot gear, this set includes additional attachments. It also features a canteen on the belt and a chest-spanning bandolier with a pouch strap. The gray duster, greener than its dark brown counterpart, boasts reinforced shoulder plates and armored knee guards, unique to this riot armor variation. Additionally, its arms are interwoven with recoil compensation materials, facilitating easier aiming and target neutralization with firearms. Level up. Upon accessing the skill screen, 6 was now level 8. He decided to continue enhancing his repair skill to 100 and used the rest of the point-raising medicine to 42, then proceeding to perks. He chose Stonewall, increasing his damage threshold by +5 permanently, and cannot be knocked down during combat. He was about to move on, until a system notification stopped him. Ding! Repair has been maxed. Perk gained. Atom Tinker 1/2. Half of Tinker's ability. Needs Science Max to fully unlock ability. Tinkers are distinct from other parahumans in that their powers don't work through them so much as they enable them to fabricate things. They can create devices or alter existing devices well beyond the usual restrictions of education, knowledge, resources, or physics. Most Tinkers have a specialty, an area of technology in which they operate either exclusively or better than others. Some draw on real-world technical knowledge while others rely more on instinct. It took the population half a day to pack their belongings, scouring the facility for anything salvageable as 6 activated their dismantling ability. Steel and machinery crumbled at his command, creating a pile of valuable parts and materials that could be repurposed in Goodsprings. With each piece stripped away, the once thriving factory became a hollow shell, but the hope of a new life ignited the spirits of those who remained. Finally, as the last container was filled, the group gathered at the facility's entrance, ready to leave behind the remnants of their former home. Ron stood tall at the front, clad in a custom T-45 power armor, its glossy exterior glinting in the waning sunlight. 3 more individuals, equally armored in T-45 power armor, flanked him, forming a formidable barrier between the group and any potential threats. "Let's move out," Ron commanded, his voice booming through the helmet speaker. "Stay close, and keep your heads down." As the population began their journey toward Goodsprings, 6 and Rebecca exchanged glances. They had a different mission, one that weighed heavily on their minds. "Do you really think we can find him?" Rebecca asked, her brow furrowed with concern. Leon's location uncertainty gnawed at her. 6 nodded, their determination unwavering. "I got a lead on his location. The mercenaries fought hard, but they still gave up his location. He might still be in the area. If he is, we need to take him out before he attacks." They broke off from the main group, slipping into the cover of the desert that lined the path. The sounds of their journey faded behind them as they ventured deeper into the waste, each step heavy with purpose. As they moved through the scorching wasteland, 6 kept his senses sharp, listening for any signs of trouble. The Mojave felt alive, but it was the quiet kind of alive, an unsettling silence that hinted at danger lurking just beyond their vision. "Do you think he'll be alone?" Rebecca asked, keeping pace beside him. "It's hard to say. He's a lunatic, but he might have picked up trouble along the way. We'll have to be ready for anything." They continued through the desert, their minds racing with thoughts of Leon's fate. As they reached a clearing, he paused, scanning the hills where the fight had taken place. "Over there," 6 pointed, spotting the remnants of a small skirmish, a few bullet casings scattered on the ground. "We're close." With renewed urgency, they pressed forward, their hearts pounding with hope and apprehension. The thought of finding Leon and slaying him pushed them onward, through the remnants of chaos that surrounded them. As midnight approached, 6 and Rebecca reached the tallest hill, panting from the ascent. The moon hung high above, casting a pale light over the valley below, illuminating Leon's camp. The sight sent a jolt through Rebecca's veins. Mercenaries were scattered throughout the area, their postures tense and alert, seemingly waiting to ambush Ron and the main group traveling to Goodsprings. Rebecca's heart raced with anticipation as she readied her Fat Man, the iconic shoulder-mounted launcher gleaming in the moonlight. She checked the mini-nuke nestled snugly in its chamber, a weapon of mass destruction that could turn the tide of any battle. This wasn't just another skirmish. It was a statement. "Are you sure about this?" 6 asked, his eyes narrowed, scanning the mercenary camp. "We don't know what kind of firepower they have. They might retaliate before we can grab Leon." Rebecca grinned, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. "This is for Eastwood." He used the same weapon against innocent people. It's time he got a taste of his own medicine. She activated the handheld catapult, the mechanism clicking into place with a satisfying sound. With a shrill whistle, she launched the mini nuke into the air. Time seemed to slow as the bomb soared, leaving a bright trail against the night sky before plummeting into the center of Leon's camp. The impact was immediate and catastrophic. A blinding light erupted from the explosion, followed by a deafening roar that reverberated through the hills. The mushroom cloud blossomed outward, engulfing the camp of slavers in the flames of nuclear fire, obliterating everyone in sight. As the dust and debris settled from the nuclear blast, an eerie silence hung over the valley. The once tense mercenaries were now nothing more than shadows burned into the ground, and the once bustling camp was reduced to a smoldering ruin. Rebecca lowered the fat man, her expression unreadable, though her hands still shook from the aftermath of such destruction. Ding! Hidden quest. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Complete. Objective. Successfully use a fat man to exterminate a large number of living beings. Reward. Super rare gold tier item, the GECK. The GCK, Garden of Eden Creation Kit, is a terraforming device created by FutureTech, a division of Vault-Tec Corporation, to ease the process of harnessing the post-nuclear wasteland for vault dwellers. A fully self-contained terraforming module, it was capable of creating and sustaining life in a post-war environment. The kit included seed and soil supplements, a cold fusion power generator, matter energy replicators, atmospheric chemical stabilizers, and water purifiers. Six exhaled slowly, his eyes fixed on the GCK and the devastation below. Holy shit, that was a lot. He muttered now in T-45 power armor, shaking his head in disbelief while Rebecca laughed maniacally at the destruction she caused. Mwah ha 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 ha. Do you think we got him, big guy? He didn't answer right away, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the wreckage. He knew Leon had to be down there, but something gnawed at his gut. A sense that this victory might have come at a greater cost than expected. Six crouched beside her, still watching the valley with cautious eyes. Let's move before anyone else decides to check out the fireworks. If Ron and the others are on schedule, they won't be walking into this or any other mess. K-Chum. Rebecca nodded, though her mind remained elsewhere. As she was so turned on that, she wanted to jump him right there and then. The explosive end of Leon's camp felt like retribution, but not closure to Six. Something about the silence that followed the blast felt too clean, too easy. Come on, he said, standing tall in power armor while she stood gripping her launcher. Let's find out if Leon's really dead, or if that cockroach somehow managed to crawl out of this alive. Six shouted, breaking the momentary daze. They charged down the hill, adrenaline surging through their veins as they rushed toward the chaos below. As they descended, they put down any surviving mercenaries now gullified amidst the wreckage. The glow of fires illuminated the shadows, casting an eerie light over the disarray. Six kept his weapons ready, prepared to fight if necessary. We need to discover if that gonk survived quickly before any faraway reinforcement realizes what happened here, he said, his eyes scanning the area for any sign of Leon. Over there, Rebecca pointed as they reached the camp's edge, making Six notice a small group of reinforcements nearing the blast radius. They attempted to rally the remaining mercenaries outside the mini-nuke's explosion, their faces a blend of anger and confusion as they surveyed the destruction. Ha ha ha! Come on, let's go! Ha 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 ha. As Rebecca stormed into the fray, her M249 roared to life, spitting a relentless hail of bullets toward the reinforcements. The mercenaries, caught off guard by the sudden and brutal assault, scrambled for cover amidst the smoking ruins of the camp. The staccato burst of gunfire mixed with her maniacal laughter, a primal release of energy she had been holding in check for too long. Six followed close behind, more deliberate in his movements. He picked off targets with precision, his own weapons twin 50 calories Desert Eagles, a sharp contrast to Rebecca's wild onslaught. The reinforcements were well armed, but they were disoriented, and their leadership obliterated in the nuclear blast. Rebecca, fueled by adrenaline and rage, moved with reckless abandon, mowing down anything in her path. A mercenary lunged at her from the side, but she swung the barrel of her M249, smashing it into his face with a sickening crunch before unloading a full clip into another cluster of enemies. You think you can rally now, fucker? She screamed, her voice hoarse from the effort. After everything you've done? Not a fucking chance. Six caught up, his eyes sweeping the battlefield. Rebecca, focus. We need to discover if Leon died. This isn't just about wiping out his crew. Rebecca paused, her chest heaving, staring down at the bodies scattered at her feet. For a brief moment, the fury dimmed in her eyes, replaced by a cold clarity. Big guy, I love you, but there's no way anybody survived that blast. Plus, they deserve every bit of this. Suddenly, a shout cut through the chaos. One of the reinforcements, bloodied but defiant, pointed toward the remains of a makeshift bunker, half collapsed from the blast. Leon's not dead yet. He's in there, regrouping. Rebecca's eyes locked onto the bunker, a dark smile curling at her lips. She switched out her spent M249 clip with a smooth, practiced motion. Then let's finish this, she growled, starting toward where the center of the camp was with a deadly purpose. Level 8. Name, 611. Gender, male. Strength, 10. Perception, 10. Endurance, 10. Charisma, 10. Intelligence, 10. Agility, 10. Luck, 10. Barter, 42. Energy weapons, 27. Explosives, 30. Guns, 100. Lockpick, 27. Medicine, 42. Melee weapons, 27. Repair, 100. Science, 42. Sneak, 30. Speech, 27. Survival, 27. Unarmed, 30. Chapter 24. Buried under a mountain of his own ambition. Navigating the tunnel of the partially collapsed makeshift bunker, Six and Rebecca found it ended at an elevator. Unwilling to risk being fish in a barrel, Six took a mini nuke from Rebecca and, using his new tinker ability, turned it into a timed explosive. As the elevator doors clanged shut, the ticking mini nuke descended into the depths, disappearing into the darkness. Six and Rebecca exchanged a brief glance, both knowing that the countdown had begun. They sprinted back through the tunnel, the weight of the bunker ceiling pressing down on them as if it could collapse at any moment. The faint echo of the elevator descending grew fainter with each step, replaced by the rising tension in the air. Once they cleared the bunker's entrance, the pair dove behind a cluster of rocks, hearts pounding as they braced for the inevitable. Rebecca held her breath, gripping her launcher tightly, her eyes locked on the bunker's remains. Seconds passed. Then, with a deep, subterranean rumble, the ground trembled violently. The sound of metal twisting and stone fracturing reverberated through the air, followed by a massive shockwave as the mini nuke detonated far beneath the surface. Flames shot up from the elevator shaft, and the entire bunker collapsed inward, disappearing into the earth as dust and debris shot skyward like an eruption. A shockwave of dust rolled toward them, choking the air as the ground trembled, cascading up to the hills. Six sat up, wiping dust from his face. That should do it. No way Leon's coming back from that. Rebecca stared at the imploded ruins of the entrance, her breathing ragged, but her face a mix of satisfaction and grim determination. He better not. We just buried him under a mountain of his own ambition. They stood in silence, watching the destruction they had unleashed settle into a stillness that felt final. You think it's over? Six asked cautiously, eyes scanning the valley for any sign of movement. Rebecca's fingers flexed around her weapon, her face hardening. If Leon's still alive after that, he's a ghost. But this feels different. He's gone. She slung her fat man over her shoulder, her expression shifting from battle-hardened to resolved. Come on, we've got to meet up with Ron and the others. Good Springs is still waiting for us, and there's plenty more to do. Ding. Hidden quest. Stop the birth of the new son of Mars. Complete. Objective. Successfully kill Leon or prevent Scar from giving birth. Reward. Super rare gold tier item Nuka Chemist perk. Bonus reward. Rare silver tier item Nuka Breaker. Nuka Chemist perk. Nuka Chemist is a perk that allows the player to gain the crafting recipes of Nuka-Cola and its special Nuka-Cola varieties. Recipes: Nuka-Cola, Nuka Berry, Nuka-Cola Victory, Nuka-Cola Quartz, Nuka Bomb Drop, Nuka Side, Nuka Cooler, Nuka Fruity, Nuka Hearty, Nuka Elixir, Nuka Love, Nuka Power, Nuka Punch, Nuka Ray, Nuka Rush, Nuka Sunrise, Nuka Void, Nuka Extreme, Nuka Grenade, Nuka Breaker, a two-handed blunt melee weapon consisting of a partially functioning Nuka-Cola neon sign mounted on a pole with an electric cord wrapped around the top, and tape at the bottom, still partially functional owing to a self-contained power supply. It deals significant damage per strike, deals the second highest amount of critical hit damage, along with the cattle prod, at the second highest critical chance multiplier of all blunt melee weapons, but also has the third highest AP cost. It also has the highest caps value of all blunt melee weapons. Ding! Level up! Upon accessing the skill screen, 6 was now level 9. He decided to continue enhancing his science skill to 59, then proceeded to perks. He chose Toughness rank 2. The second rank of this perk grants a permanent +3 increase to your damage threshold. After reviewing the potential perks available, 6 decided to go with Finesse, a perk that permanently increased his critical chance by +5%. Given his preference for precision and the sheer versatility of being able to land critical hits in combat, the choice seemed obvious. Whether dealing with raiders, mutated beasts, or the inevitable chaos of the wasteland, landing those extra damaging shots could easily turn the tide in his favor. With a satisfied grin, 6 closed the perk screen. More crits? Can't complain about that, he muttered to himself. Every edge mattered out here, and with his enhanced abilities from his father's genetics, the additional critical chance would make him even deadlier. Rebecca, noticing his self-satisfied smirk, raised an eyebrow. What did you get this time? Finesse, 6 replied, flexing his trigger finger for emphasis. More crits, more damage, makes taking down bigger targets a bit easier. She grinned back. Just what you need, huh? You're already a walking tank. Now you're gonna be a crit machine too. Exactly, 6 said with a chuckle. With his perk locked in, the wasteland suddenly seemed a bit less dangerous and a lot more fun. Let's just hope we don't have any more surprises waiting for us on the way. Together, they descended the hills, leaving behind the collapsed bunker and the life of Leon, the tyrant who had terrorized the Mojave. Rising, they dusted themselves off and walked determinedly towards the main group, hoping to avoid any attacks from hidden creatures until they joined the others. However, luck was not with 6. Shortly into their journey, he stepped on unusually firm sand. His eyes widened as he looked down. Just in time, he retracted his leg, narrowly evading the small rat scorpion's stinger. 6 was uncertain about the potency of its venom, but he was confident he'd survive with his power armor. Retreating swiftly, he aimed his desert eagles at the creature and fired, obliterating it in a spray of yellow gore. 6 grimaced as he cleared the viscous fluid from his visor. In the distance, a luminous spire pierced the night sky, New Vegas. Catching a glimpse of movement, he turned to see a 10-foot scaled humanoid with massive claws charging towards them, bellowing a roar that 6 identified as a death claw. Without hesitation, 6 and Rebecca unleashed their anti-material rifles. The beast's scales shattered under the barrage, and blood gushed from the grievous wounds, yet the deathclaw remained undeterred. As 6 scrambled to reload, the creature seized the opportunity to advance, forcing 6 to fend off a lethal swipe aimed at his neck. For a single moment, he thought that the rifle might have held it back, but it cut it in 2 halves like it was a Kit Kat and damaged his T-45 breastplate. Though he didn't panic from the danger he was in, not because he was fearless, but because Rebecca changed her clip for armor-piercing rounds. With the Deathclaw being so close, she easily blew a hole in its skull. The Deathclaw's hulking body crumpled to the ground, its claws twitching as it finally succumbed to the fatal shot. Rebecca exhaled slowly, lowering her rifle, though her eyes remained sharp, scanning the area for any more threats. The adrenaline still pumped through her veins, but she felt the satisfying weight of survival settle in. 6, still recovering from the close call, wiped the sweat off his brow, inspecting the damage to his T-45 armor. A deep gash marred the surface, and while the armor had protected him from the worst, the Deathclaw's strength was undeniable. That was a little too close for comfort, 6 muttered, catching his breath. I thought I was toast back there. Rebecca shot him a smirk, her rifle still at the ready. You owe me one. Again, big guy. 6 chuckled, though he winced as he adjusted his breastplate. Yeah. You always like saving my ass and you know it, Becca. The two paused for a moment, both taking in the eerie quiet that followed the brief but violent encounter. The air was thick with the acrid stench of the Deathclaw's blood, mingling with the ever-present wasteland dust. The looming spire of New Vegas in the distance served as a reminder that their journey was far from over. Rebecca reloaded her rifle, the sound of the magazine clicking into place echoing in the night air. We're not too far from the others, but this stretch isn't getting any easier. Rad scorpions, Deathclaws, who knows what else is lurking out here? 6 nodded, his focus sharpening. Let's stick to higher ground where we can spot anything before it spots us. As they continued, the glow of New Vegas grew brighter on the horizon, casting long shadows across the wasteland. The pair moved cautiously, the intensity of their encounter with the Deathclaw serving as a harsh reminder of the dangers they faced in the Mojave. Every rustle in the bushes, every shift in the wind, made them tense, their hands never straying far from their weapons. But there was also a sense of purpose driving them forward. Leon was gone, the mercenaries were decimated, and now they had one mission left: reunite with Ron and the others in Goodsprings and ensure that their next steps would secure the safety of the wasteland. As they crested a ridge, Rebecca glanced over at Six, her expression softening slightly. "You good to keep going, big guy?" Six gave her a lopsided grin. "After everything we've been through? Yeah, I'm good. Let's finish this." Half a day later, they rejoined Ron and the others, setting up camp near Quarry Junction, which meant they were at least 2 days away from Goodsprings. The quarry had come under the ownership of the new California Republic, becoming the main source of limestone for mixing cement and producing the concrete used by NCR engineers in their construction projects. As the sun began to set behind the jagged hills surrounding Quarry Junction, the group gathered around the newly set-up camp, the fire crackling and casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. Six and Rebecca, weary from their journey, dropped their gear near the camp perimeter and exchanged nods with Ron, who was busy sharpening his combat knife. Ron looked up, his grizzled face etched with concern. "You're late," he said, his voice gruff. "We were starting to worry something had happened." Six left his power armor and shrugged, tossing a piece of scrap wood into the fire. "Ran into a few problems on the way. Leon's not a problem anymore, but we had a close encounter with a Deathclaw. Could have gone south real fast. Level 9. Name, 611. Gender, male. Strength, 10. Perception, 10. Endurance, 10. Charisma, 10. Intelligence, 10. Agility, 10. Luck, 10. Barter, 42. Energy weapons, 27. Explosives, 30. Guns, 100. Lockpick, 27. Medicine, 42. Melee weapons, 27. Repair, 100. Science, 59. Sneak, 30. Speech, 27. Survival, 27. Unarmed, 30. Chapter 25, Return to Goodsprings. Ron's eyes widened at the mention of the creature. "Damn, a Deathclaw? You two always seem to find the worst luck out there." Rebecca, leaving her power armor, smirked, stretching her tired muscles. "We handled it, chum. Just a few scratches. Leon's finished, too. Buried him and his entire crew under a mountain." Ron let out a low whistle, impressed. "Good to hear. That bastard had it coming." He cast a quick glance at Six, noticing holotags spilling from his shredded leather armor, a remnant of the Deathclaw attack. Then his gaze shifted to Rebecca, who bore similar tags. To avoid drawing attention, Ron swiftly rejoined the rest of the group, who were engrossed in preparing supplies and inspecting their weapons. "But we're not out of the woods yet. News is that Quarry Junction's presently been crawling with Deathclaws, and we still need to make it to Goodsprings. 2 days if we're lucky." Six frowned, knowing how dangerous the area around the quarry was. Deathclaws and worse. This area's becoming a death trap. Ron nodded in agreement. "Yeah, but we're sticking to the plan. We stay the night, move at first light, and keep a low profile. I don't want us drawing any attention until we're closer to Goodsprings. There's been increased activity along the trade routes, raiders, and something worse, rumors of super mutants moving in." The fire crackled in the silence that followed, the weight of Ron's words sinking in. Everyone knew the dangers they faced, but there was little choice. Goodsprings was their only safe haven, and with Leon gone, they had to ensure the settlement's protection from any new threats. Rebecca glanced at Six. "You think we can make it through Quarry Junction without getting spotted, big guy?" Six rubbed the back of his neck. "I hope so, babe, but we'll need to be quick, quiet, and ready for a fight if it comes to it." Ron stood, his knife now gleaming in the firelight. "Get some rest tonight. We're going to need all the strength we can get for the next leg of this journey." As the night wore on, the group settled in, keeping an uneasy watch over the quarry and the surrounding hills. The wasteland was never truly quiet, but tonight felt particularly tense. Every distant roar and every shifting shadow seemed like a potential threat. Six and Rebecca lay side by side, their backs to the fire, eyes scanning the dark horizon. 2 more days, Rebecca whispered. Then we're home. Six nodded, his hand resting on the grip of his desert eagle. Yeah, 2 more days. But deep down, both of them knew that the wasteland rarely made things easy. To the group's astonishment, they faced no problems in the following 2 days and reached Good Springs without incident. The only exception was the discovery of a refrigerator on the desert floor, likely hurled from Eastwood, inside which lay a skeleton curled up, donning a dapper gambler's hat. That fridge was a death trap, also known as we named the dog Indiana. This is a reference to the 4th Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in which Jones survives a nuclear test facility blast by climbing into a lead-lined refrigerator and being catapulted miles away. Additionally, the name of the incident is a reference to a line spoken by General Robert Ross to Indy a few minutes later in the movie. Indy, thank goodness you're all right. Don't you know better than to climb into a refrigerator? Those things can be death traps. As Six and Rebecca, along with the rest of the group, entered Good Springs, they were greeted by the sight of a town transformed. The once small and only walled settlement now stood fortified, with reinforced barricades, watchtowers, and guards patrolling its perimeter. The air was tense but hopeful, a stark contrast to the constant dread that had once hung over the town. Mayor Tutch Connors, a broad-shouldered man with a happy and gruff demeanor, stood at the town center, giving orders to a group of deputies. His eyes lit up when he spotted Six, Rebecca, and Ron approaching. He strode forward, his hand extended in greeting. "You're just in time," Connors said, touching almost everyone's faces. "We've been fortifying since I took charge. Trudy gladly gave me the role, thought it was better for someone else to lead, and I'm making sure this place can withstand anything the wasteland throws at us." Six gave an approving nod, taking in the reinforced structures and the increased number of guards near the turrets. "You've done well here, Connors. The place looks ready for anything." Rebecca smiled faintly, noting the strategic improvements. "Hell yeah, looks like Good Springs is finally more than just a stopover for travelers. You're turning it into a stronghold." Connor's face hardened with resolve. "That's the plan, Missy. We've had too many close calls. Raiders, slavers, and even the NCR have been eyeing this place. No more. With your mother's help, Six, we've set up trade routes and strengthened alliances with Prim and Sloan, but we're also ready to defend ourselves." He gestured towards Sunny Smiles, who stood near the saloon, overseeing her newly appointed deputies. Sunny caught their gaze and made her way over, her demeanor as steady as ever but with a newfound authority in her step. She now wore a deputy's badge, her rifle slung over her shoulder, and a holster at her hip. "Glad to see you made it back in one piece, Six," Sunny said, her lips curling into a small smile. "Heard about Leon. I figured you two lovebirds would take care of business." Rebecca grinned. "Yeah, chum. Leon's not going to be bothering anyone anymore, but we had a few close calls along the way." Sunny nodded. "This town's going to be safer now, thanks to you. Connors made me sheriff, and we're rounding up folks who can help keep this place secure. We've got patrols running day and night, and the defenses are coming along nicely." Six raised an eyebrow. "Deputies, huh? Got enough hands to keep things locked down?" Sunny chuckled. "More than enough. We've been training a lot of the townsfolk, and travelers passing through are more willing to stay on and help out now that Good Springs is fortified. And with Connors pushing for more defensive measures, we're in a better position than we've ever been." Connors crossed his arms, his expression serious. "It's not just about defense, either. We're building a community here, Missy. Something that can last. Trade's picking up, and people are starting to realize that Good Springs is more than just another wasteland town." Ron, standing silently until now, gave a nod of approval. "That's good to hear. The wasteland's got enough places that get overrun or torn apart. If anyone deserves to build something lasting, it's this town." Six and Rebecca exchanged a look, both feeling the weight of their journey finally begin to lift. Good Springs was safe for now, and it seemed like the town had a future ahead of it. One that wouldn't need constant fighting just to survive. Sunny clapped Six on the back. "Now that you're back, you should grab a drink and rest up. You've earned it." Six smirked. "I think we might just take you up on that." As the sun began to set over Good Springs, casting long shadows over the fortified walls, there was a sense of peace that hadn't been felt in a long time. For now, the town was safe, and for the first time in ages, Six and Rebecca could afford to breathe. The battles they had fought, the enemies they had defeated, it all led to this moment, a rare respite in the unforgiving wasteland. Six's return home was marked by more than just the relief of surviving the wasteland. His parents, ever supportive and eager to see him settle into a more stable life, wasted no time in arranging a wedding ceremony, officially uniting him with Rebecca. The small gathering in Goodsprings was intimate yet filled with warmth, a rare moment of celebration in the harsh world they lived in. Rebecca, now pregnant, stood by Six's side, her fierce nature tempered with the anticipation of a new life on the way. With the future of his family in mind, Six turned his attention to constructing a massive resource vault, his legacy for ensuring their long-term survival and prosperity in the Mojave. The vault, unlike others scattered across the wasteland, was built with practicality and sustainability at its core. Several floors were dedicated to non-irradiated crops and farm animals he purchased from the system store, a way to secure food supplies without reliance on the often dangerous, radiated wasteland. Other floors were devoted to weapons ammunition and robot production, ensuring that Goodsprings and his family would be well protected. The heart of his vault's operation, however, was its workforce. Instead of relying on traditional robots from the Fallout universe, whose parts and upkeep often proved costly and time-consuming, Six, ever the Tinkerer, had purchased and reverse-engineered a few B-1 battle droids from the system store. He found that once he cracked their design, they were much cheaper to replicate and more efficient for the tasks he needed them to perform. The droids operated the vault's agricultural, defense, power, and production systems, running efficiently day and night. Rebecca, now resting more as her pregnancy advanced, watched with pride as Six's vision for their future took shape. Together, they were carving out a new beginning, one that would not only secure their own safety but also help ensure that their child would grow up in a world where survival was less about daily battles and more about thriving in a new, self-sustained way. Level 9. Name, 611. Gender, male. Strength, 10. Perception, 10. Endurance, 10. Charisma, 10. Intelligence, 10. Agility, 10. Luck, 10. Barter, 42. Energy weapons, 27. Explosives, 30. Guns, 100. Lockpick, 27. Medicine, 42. Melee weapons, 27. Repair, 100. Science, 59. Sneak, 30. Speech, 27. Survival, 27. Unarmed, 30.